Hello friends, it's Kat from Meow Kapow. I wanted to take you out on an adventure so that you can see me use one of my tiny little palettes, and we're going to be specifically testing some Sennelier paints just to see if they work as a standalone kit as opposed to needing some extra colors to get what we want. So let's go. It's been super gross outside, so we're going to find a place that we can set up shop at for a while that won't kick us out. As always, the materials I use will always be linked in the doobly-doo down below, but we're working super minimal today with just a ballpoint pen, handbook sketchbook, water brush, and our little set of Sennelier Test Pack paints from the video linked in the iCard. Normally, I'd also have a white gel pen or two with me, but I forgot that on this trip, so I'm going to make a second trip later and bring some along, for science. And please, if you haven't already, consider subscribing to my channel and liking this video. One of my favorite ways to relax and honestly just take care of myself is to go to random public places and paint whatever I see. It's a really fun activity, and I fully admit that half the time what I make on these trips is not exactly prize-winning material, but letting go and not sweating the outcome is part of the reward of these experiments. For the first two pieces, I had a bit of trouble coping with the knowledge that I'd forgotten my gel pens, and I also went a bit crazy trying to line things with the paint itself. They're sloppy, a bit ill-conceived, and not exactly cohesive, so, of course, they're perfect. I've mentioned here and there that Sennelier is one of my favorite paint brands before, but I didn't always love them. Their real power lies in the ability to endlessly glaze or layer them over and over and over to get a really beautiful and eventually rich color that still has an inner glow about it. Subtle is where Sennelier shines, and weirdly, I felt that these colors were anything but subtle. So often, I found myself unintentionally making a color that was richer than I'd anticipated, and that's not actually a bad problem to have sometimes. You can tell that, compared to the first two paintings I made and the last two, I got used to the darkness of these colors. They still layer beautifully, but if you already have experience with Sennelier, just be prepared for a little bit of an adjustment at first. I learned a lot about how well these colors layer over one another, how to mix what shade I was looking for using which colors, and to ease up on trying to pretend like I'm making solid line art. Part of the whole point of sketches like this, for me, is to give myself permission to do whatever I want, without fear, to see if I like it or not, or if I need to find a different approach. If I worry about making everything in my sketchbooks look beautiful and like a finished piece, then I'm never going to take chances, and making mistakes is the only way to grow. I love making mistakes in my art. Like Jake the dog said, sucking at something is the first step to becoming sorta good at something. Which I think shows in my third piece of a plate of fruit. By now, I was much more confident with mixing these particular colors into what I wanted, and I started experimenting with using colored lines to emphasize things, rather than using black. I really like the way this one turned out. And yes, it could have been even more juicy looking if I'd preserved more white or had my gel pens, but that can be fixed later if I really want. From these paintings, we can really see that there is a pretty wide variety of colors that these 5 paints alone can make. I did make a large color chart where I mixed 2 colors together, as well as where I mixed 3 colors, but I won't bore you with the tedium of it all, so... Bam! Full color chart. I think this chart is a good starting point to understand what these colors can do, but I think the range is even greater than this chart shows. Overall, these colors are a lot more dark and saturated than I expected, and I think that's a lot to do with that primary red. It's slightly warm, and I'm used to working with a very bright, very cool color for my reds. I've mentioned before in paint reviews that, specifically, I test whether or not a paint works with gel pens because of my experience with Sennelier. For some reason, the Rose Opera I have been using in my other Sennelier palette reacts with my Uniball Signo pen, but does not react with my white Jelly Roll pen. I prefer to use my Signo pen because the ink is brighter, but when I discovered this problem, I started to carry both with me just in case. Here you can see that they actually both work just fine with all the colors we used, so I really wonder what it is about this Rose Opera paint that is so different. I did end up going out again with these paints and my white pens, but since I didn't really use the pens that much, let's discuss my overall opinions while I paint this delicious bubble tea and a penguin purse that my sister and I made a dozen years ago. One of my goals with this palette was to test if it was a good standalone set for beginner painters, since the price for these professional paints is super affordable. I talked about the price in the palette setup video for these paints, actually. I would say that it's a good set, but again, the red bothers me. Because the red is a medium red that feels just a little warm, and we have the Chinese orange and there's a lemon yellow, this kit can make a lot of warm and deep orange colors, but I think that makes it a little unbalanced. I found myself craving a cool red or a magenta in many occasions, and found that the only way I could really get what I wanted was by using a lot of water and a little bit of blue. Is it possible to paint whatever you want with this palette? Yes. But if I had my way, I would buy this set and add a tube of something like alizarin crimson or quinacridone rose or something. Even just buying one extra tube and this set is still less expensive than buying all of the colors individually. At the end of the day, I definitely recommend this test kit of Sennelier paints, no matter what level of comfort you have with the medium. These paints are artist quality, affordable, and cover a range of colors that you would need to get started without giving you so many colors that you'll get overwhelmed by choice. It's an excellent way to learn color mixing if you're not comfortable with it yet, and it's easily available online through multiple art stores like Dick Blick or also on Amazon. If you had this kit, do you think it would be a good set of colors for you, or would you want to add anything to it? If you've already tried these paints, let me know down in the comments what you think of them. Until I see you next time, I wish you peace, love, and mango jelly. Bye!